Hey there, welcome. If you're running a business here in the UK, you know that VAT returns can be, well, a bit of a nightmare. But they don't have to be. The experts over at Pro Tax Accountant have put together this guide to walk you through the whole thing for the 2025-26 tax year. We're going to make it simple, clear, and totally doable.
Ever feel like you're trying to find your way through a maze, blindfolded, when it comes to your VAT return? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. That's a super common feeling for business owners all across the UK. The forms, the numbers, the deadlines, it can all feel like a bit much.
And look, getting it right is a big deal. Did you know that a whopping 12% of all VAT returns have errors in them? That's more than 1 in every 10. And we're not just talking about little typos. These are mistakes that can lead to you paying too much or not enough, and can definitely get you an unwelcome letter from HMRC. The stakes are pretty high.
But hey, don't let that number freak you out. That's exactly why we're here. This guide, brought to you by the team at Pro Tax Accountant, is designed to give you that clarity and confidence you need. We're going to walk through this whole thing together, one step at a time.
So, here's the plan. First, we'll cover the basics in VAT, the what and why. Then, we'll get practical with getting your records ready and crunching the numbers. After that, we'll tackle the return itself, look at how to dodge those common mistakes, and finally, we'll cover submitting, paying, and we'll do a quick recap. A nice, clear path from start to finish.
Right, let's kick things off with the fundamentals. Before we even think about touching the numbers, it's so important to understand what a VAT return actually is and why you're even doing it.
So what is a VAT return, really? At the end of the day, it's just a report card for HMRC. You tell them about the VAT you've charged your customers, that's your output VAT, and then you tell them about the VAT you've paid on things you bought for your business, that's your input VAT. The difference between those two is the magic number. It tells you if you owe HMRC some money, or if just maybe they owe you a refund.
So who actually needs to file one of these? Well, for the 2025-26 tax year, if your business's taxable turnover goes over £85,000 in any 12-month period, you have to register for VAT. It's the law. And here's a pro tip, that's a rolling 12-month period, not just your financial year. That means you need to be checking your turnover at the end of every single month looking back over the last 12. So many people get caught out by that.
It's also super important to know there are different VAT rates. The standard one, which you'll see on most things, is 20%. But then there's a reduced rate of 5% on things like home energy, and a 0 rate on stuff like most food and kids' clothes. Knowing which rate applies where is, you guessed it, key to getting your return right.
All right, with the why out of the way, let's get into the how. Section 2 is all about preparation. Honestly, good prep is half the battle won. And when it comes to VAT, it is everything.
Okay, so what do you actually need to pull together for your VAT period? You'll need every single sales invoice to add up your output VAT, and then all your purchase invoices and receipts to figure out your input VAT. Oh, and don't forget any credit notes, either given or received, because they'll change your totals. If you do any import or export, you'll need that paperwork too.
And here's a massive pro tip you cannot ignore. Since April 2022, making tax digital for VAT, or MTD, is mandatory for everyone. This isn't just a friendly suggestion from HMRC, it's the law. Your records have to be digital, and you must file your return using MTD-compatible software. The days of logging into the old government website and typing in the numbers are long gone.
Okay, you've got your paperwork organized. Now it's time for the main event, crunching the numbers. This might sound like the scary part, but I promise, when you break it down, it's actually pretty straightforward. The whole thing really just boils down to two concepts. Think of it like a seesaw. On one side, you have your output VAT. That's all the VAT you've added to your sales. On the other side, you have your input VAT, the VAT you paid on your business expenses. Your entire return is just about balancing these two.
And here it is, the calculation in 3 simple steps. 1. Add up all the output VAT from your sales. 2. Add up all the input VAT you're allowed to claim back from your purchases. And 3. Subtract your total input VAT from your total output VAT. That's it. That's the core of the whole thing, right there.
And that final number you get is the bottom line. If your output VAT was more than your input VAT, you owe the difference to HMRC. But if your input VAT was higher, maybe you bought some expensive new equipment that month, then they owe you a refund. It's a number that's going to directly affect your cash flow.
You've got your numbers. Now, where do they actually go? In Section 4, we'll look at the return itself. It looks a bit intimidating with its 9 boxes, but for most people, you only really need to worry about a handful of them.
Let's just focus on the 5 big ones. Box 1 is where your total output VAT goes. Box 4 is for your total reclaimable input VAT. The super important box 5 shows that final result, what you owe or what's coming back to you. And box 6 is just the total value of your sales, but without the VAT. Get these 5 right, and you're pretty much golden.
We're making great progress. But this next part, this is where things can get a little tricky for a lot of people. Stay with me, because avoiding these common mistakes is an absolute game changer. It can save you so much time, money, and, let's be honest, stress.
So these are the classic tripwires, mixing up zero-rated and exempt supplies. They sound the same, but in the eyes of HMRC, they're totally different. Another huge one is getting the business use percentage wrong for things like your phone bill or car. And then there are the simple admin slip-ups, like forgetting about a chunk of income or accidentally counting a purchase invoice twice. It happens all the time.
And this is a perfect real-world example. Let me tell you about Tom, a freelance web developer down in Brighton. He was juggling a bunch of clients and totally forgot about one project where the agency he worked with handled the VAT part. He just didn't include it in his calculation. The result? A very unwelcome and stressful £1,200 VAT bill from HMRC. It just shows how vital it is to track every single penny.
Okay, but what if you do realize you've made a mistake? First thing, don't panic, and definitely don't try to hide it. HMRC is always way more reasonable with people who are upfront and honest. If you find a mistake, you can correct it. Sometimes you can just adjust it on your next return, but for bigger errors, telling them about it formally is the way to go. It almost always means lower penalties, if any.
All right, we are on the home stretch now. You've prepared your docs, you've done the math, and you've double-checked for any of those common mistakes. Let's talk about the final step, submitting, paying, and putting this thing to bed.
You absolutely have to know this date, the deadline to both submit your return and make sure the payment is in HMRC's bank account is usually 1 month and 7 days after your VAT period ends. So, if your quarter ends March 31st, your deadline is May 7th. Put it in your calendar, set a reminder, do whatever you need to do because being late can trigger penalties and interest charges.
So, to wrap it all up, here's your final action plan. 1. Give everything one last look over. A quick sense check can save you a world of pain. 2. Hit submit through your MTD software. 3. Get that payment sorted so it clears on time. And 4, this one's non-negotiable, save everything. HMRC requires you to keep all your digital records for at least 6 years.
We've covered a ton of ground today, and even though this gives you a great framework, sometimes you just need an expert to look at your specific situation. If you're feeling a bit stuck or you just want that peace of mind, please don't hesitate to reach out to the fantastic team at Pro Tax Accountant. You can get them on WhatsApp or by phone at 07985 or just drop them an email at info@protaxaccountant.co.uk.
And there you have it, your step-by-step guide to filing a UK VAT return. I really hope you found it helpful. If you did, do us a favor and subscribe to the Pro Tax Accountant channel for more simple, practical guides just like this one. And we'd love to hear from you. So pop a comment below. What tax topic should we break down for you next? Thanks so much for watching.